let's officially welcome Sam to the show now that we know we can both hear each other and you guys can hear us. We've got Sam Acho, NFL linebacker, a 9-year veteran of the NFL. Is that
Yep,
right, Sam? 9-year
yep, yep.
veteran. So, Sam, you played your college ball at the University of Texas, drafted by the Arizona Cardinals in 2011. And since then, you played with Arizona. You played with Chicago. You played with Tampa. Currently a free agent, but you've had a lot of success in the league. And you've also had a lot of success on the community side of things. I've been recognized from the time you were in college and even in the NFL for a lot of the work you've done in the community. I was reading about the missions that you do, the mission trips to Nigeria that you take with your family every summer. So, Sam, we're excited to get to know you a little bit, and then also chat with you about how you're adapting. From a training standpoint, from a mindset standpoint, from a nutrition standpoint, to this really unique circumstance that we're all in. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us today, and thanks for hanging out.
Yeah, so glad to be on. And this is a privilege for me. I usually don't go live, and so I'm like, let me, anybody who's listening, whatever questions you got, or even just comments or whatever, feel free to shoot them out, because I'm really excited just to share and listen and learn.
That's awesome. Yeah, like I've got some questions for Sam that we want to talk through, but for all you guys that are tuning in live, all you guys that are coming in now, any questions for Sam, fire them away in the comments. That's what we're here for. That's what Sam's here for, to give you some insight into what he's doing, as a professional athlete, to keep his body right, his mind right, everything right as best he can during these times. But Sam, let's start off a little bit with getting to know you. So I talked a little bit about your background in football and your draft history in the NFL. How did athletics and sports start for you? Like what sparked that passion for you?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't necessarily a passion. It was just I had a lot of excess energy. And I think my parents were just like, just go do something, leave, get outside. And so early on, I think I was in first or second grade, we started playing soccer. My brother and I, we played soccer in the fall and in the spring. And then also we played basketball in the winter. So we went soccer, basketball, soccer, and that was the thing growing up. And as I got older, my parents put us in baseball, which I was horrible at baseball. It was not I would close my eyes and swing and miss every time. But if I made contact, it usually was pretty solid. I just rarely made contact. And then as I got a little bit older, I started doing football and track and field. And I know you mentioned passion. I didn't even realize I was that good at football. I went to a small school, an all boys private school in Texas. And we had 80 people in our graduating class. And so it wasn't really this whole football powerhouse when people think of NFL players or even Texas football. It was the opposite, the antithesis of that. And actually got a chance to get discovered by USC at the time. And that's where I started. I got discovered by them, got offered by a lot of schools, and ended up committing to the University of Texas to play football there.
When did you realize, like you said that, football growing up wasn't like even a big passion for you? When did you realize, maybe it was at some point in college, that it was something that you could pursue at the next level and do professionally?
Yeah, well, the realization seemed like they came in phases. So I remember in high school, I didn't even think I had a realistic opportunity to even play football in college. It wasn't a dream. It was not a goal. I wanted to go to an Ivy League school and go get my education. It wasn't playing sports. And then my junior year in high school, I went to this football camp with my brother, and it was at the University of Southern California back when they had Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart, and they were winning all these championships. And I didn't realize it was an invite-only camp, and I wasn't invited. And yes, was not invited, but for somehow, some way, they saw our name, wasn't on the list, they let us in the door, and I ended up doing really well at that camp. And not only was it an invite-only camp, it was their top 300 camp. So the 300 top players from the entire state of California were there. And I was this little old guy from Texas. Me and my brother and my dad all went because, we had figured summer family vacation, let's make it a fun trip. And so that's when I realized when Pete Carroll offered me a scholarship, that's when I said, oh, wow, I could probably play it in college. But even going to college, I was like, maybe this is a fluke. Maybe they made a mistake. I just felt like everybody, I went to the University of Texas with right after Vince Young had been there. And, they won a national championship, and they had amazing athletes. And I remember thinking, I am not able to compete with these athletes, and this is not going to work. And so, but it wasn't until probably my junior year, the summer before my junior year in college, where I had a conversation with one of my coaches who pretty much said, hey, Sam, you have the ability to take it to the next level. You just need to believe in yourself, believe you can do it. And that's where it all started. I'd say that's when it started.
So, Sam, I've talked to you a couple times now, and seen some of the stuff you put out on your social media, and like your positivity, it jumps through the screen. And you were just talking about that mindset of like believing in yourself and thinking you can do it. Where did that come from? Is that something you've always had, or is that something that you've built up over time in your life?
Yeah, well, people always, that's a great question. People always talk about belief and confidence. And, I have a 5-year old son, a 3-year-old girl, daughter, and another 1.5-year-old son. And I look at my 5-year-old and, uh, at moments, and I use this as an example for me, because at moments he's learning how to ride his bike. He's like, look, I can do anything. I'm the king of the world. And then at other moments, he's like, Dad, I can't do this. I'm not, I can't, like we took the pedals off for doing that thing. He's like, I'm not ready to put the pedals on. I'm scared. And so for me, it's almost like these ebbs and flows of, man, I got this. I can do this. But then these other moments where it's like, dude, I have no shot. So for me, a lot of like what kind of gives me confidence is my faith in God, my faith in Jesus. It's like, all right, God, like you wouldn't have put me here by accident. And so I know that the only way I can do this is by trusting you. That's the only way I can do this. And so that's kind of been the big thing for me. Speaking of 3-year-old daughters, my 3-year-old just showed up
Oh, we
on
got
the
a special
screen.
cameo. That's right. That's
Yes.
right. We got more
This
than
is the
you
one.
bargained for.
Yes, this is the one who's like, she has her scooter and she's like, I can do anything. I can do anything. And so that's her. Give me
What's
one
her
second,
name?
Mama, okay? Her name is Sophia.
Hey, Sophia. What's up? Thanks for joining
Yeah.
us.
You say hi. Can you wave?
That's awesome. So, Sam, what I wanted to get into with you was how you've been adapting to the current situation, and this is a perfect example of it that we're seeing live. I think for a lot of people right now, a lot of parents especially, it's trying to do what you need to do while also being present for your kids and being around your kids at all times while you're also trying to get your work done. Tell us a little bit, when you have a moment, no rush, but tell us a little bit what your life at home is like. You have 3 kids. How old are they, and what's the structure of the day with your kids at home right now?
Yeah, so by the grace of God, God gave me a really good wife, and so we have a pretty structured schedule. So, and that's, I would say, for anybody who's listening or who's trying to figure out how to do work and workouts and home life and parenting, I think schedule is huge. And so for us, um, I'll start with waking up. So we'll get up, maybe it's 7, or the kids usually get up sometimes earlier than that. We'll get up, we'll get together as a family, we'll pray, we'll get breakfast, we'll do breakfast as a family, and then usually right after breakfast is when I'm starting my workouts. And so my workouts might take an hour or two, depending on what I have that day. But oftentimes before my workout, the kids will go outside on their bike, on their scooter, and then I'll either watch them or play with them, or we have a soccer ball, maybe get some soccer in before I really get my warm up in. And so for me, that's a good time to not only get the kids outside. Like obviously I'm in Phoenix, so it's easy to get outside. I understand some places you can't do that. But I guess just incorporating family into workouts has been helpful for me. And that's not every day, right? Like there are some days where, like today is a prime example. Today my workout was a lot shorter, so I kind of just went on my own and just got it in and got it done. Um, but then so that I could come back and have time with them and be outside and run around and play. And so that'll be, call it 10 to 12, or maybe 9:30 to 11:30 or so, the workout time. We'll come back in, we'll do lunch. And I know I don't know if there are any parents on here, but a lot of times screen time is really looked down upon. But I think for us now, it's like, hey, we'll give them their little bit of screen time so we can have some sanity. So they'll watch some educational shows and do that whole deal. Yes? You want Daniel Tiger? Speaking of educational shows, my daughter
Somebody
wants to
asked
go
how many
watch.
hours of Paw Patrol. We got that question in there.
Yeah,
So people
exactly.
people are people are up on the educational kid shows.
Yeah, so they're doing like Daniel Tiger and Wildcrafts, all that kind of stuff. And so they'll watch that while I'm kind of coming in. We're all doing lunch. And then after that, we'll do our kind of school day. So the morning time is outside, play, run around. And then me get my workout in. You want Daniel Tiger? Okay, when I finish the call, you can have Daniel Tiger, okay? Thank you. Um, and then afternoon is school time. And sometimes, like I said, there'll be Zoom calls or stuff like this that, business stuff, work stuff. But it's usually either me or my wife trying to help kind of teach and train the kids. And the crazy thing is, during this time that we've been at home, it seems like my kids are developing and advancing even more, which is crazy. And it's actually cool because I'm learning. Like as a parent, oftentimes you ship your kids off to school and say teachers do the job, and you expect the teachers to do it. But now I'm getting a chance to see my kids and to try and help teach and train them. Even little things, right? Like R's, the letter R
Yeah,
is hard
yeah.
for my daughter. And so we'll play this little game. If I see her, she'll say, I want to eat rice. And I'll say, like rice, or even L's, right? Like I want a lollipop. We'll act like there's peanut butter right on the top of our lips, upper, right under your roof of your mouth. Will be like lollipop. So we play these little games, and it's so rewarding for me as a parent to see that. And so that's school time, and then about 4:30, about 5:30, we'll do dinner, and then after dinner we'll go outside again and just play. And when I say outside, like I said, everybody can't get outside, but for us it's just like family time, just time for my wife to kind of have her own thing, me to play with the kids, and that's what we usually do.
So that's a great takeaway, Sam. You talked at the beginning about, really the importance of maintaining a schedule and trying to set a routine, and in describing your day, it sounds like that's a big component of what you guys do, but for both you and your wife to be able to get what you guys individually need to get done, as well as spending time with your kids. You were talking about incorporating your kids into your workout from a training side of things. Is that something that you've always done since you've had kids, or is that something that you've done now that's unique to these current times that we're in?
Yeah, this is actually really unique to these current times that we're in. Usually, when I train, I go to a facility. I'll go on my own, and I'll work out for a couple hours. I'll do my thing, then I'll come back and I'll be dad. But now I can't really do that because most
Right.
of every facility is closed. And so the first issue I ran into was, okay, how do I get my workouts in and get my time, uh, and not be distracted? But I think the cool thing about kids is that they notice things, and so they know when it's that, daddy. A lot of times I'll wear my AirPods, right? Daddy has AirPods in, or his I got these, sunglasses on. It's like, all right, daddy's doing workouts. Let me not, let me do my thing. But there'll be other times as well. And now she's saying, she wants to read a book. I want to read books oftentimes. This is Daniel Tiger time. Yeah. Um, anyways, so now I'm almost forced to work out and incorporate with the kids. And funny enough, I couldn't find weights for the longest time. I didn't realize that weights are very similar nowadays to water and to toilet paper, because a lot of people who can't go to gyms have
Right.
been buying weights. I need to
Right.
stop doing that. Don't do that right now, okay, mama? Not right now, okay? Okay, go see mommy. Go see mommy. And also there's nap times as well. So kids get tired,
Sam, I
and
would
the
say
tears start to come out.
if there's any scouts watching this right now, the way you've been handling, the defense and still playing, let me tell you what, this is a well-rounded player right here.
Yes.
That was impressive. You were giving rock solid, thoughtful answers while also being dad on the screen. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's one of those things where it's like you have to learn how to adapt. And so like for us, it was like, okay, I would actually use my kids as weights oftentimes, like just to incorporate them. They have fun and I get my workout in. My son, my 5-year-old, who's like 90 pounds, he was on my back the other day when I was doing push-ups. You know what I mean? So it was fun for him, but I got my work in.
You talking about adapting, like what would you be doing in a typical off-season cycle right now? I mean, this must be so different for you.
Yeah.
It's so different for a lot of people, but I mean, in the line of work that you're in, like what's normally happening for you at this time of the year?
Yeah. Well, usually today is a Wednesday. On Monday, a lot of teams had just started their off-season workouts. And so usually every player in the NFL would be going to their different facilities and training with the team. You'd have 2 hours of working out, 2 hours of lifting weights with the team and running. Then you have another 2 hours of film. And so that's usually what would happen right now. And so what some of the adaptations that had to be made are, some teams are going to virtual training. So you have a Zoom call. But like I said, other teams have said, hey guys, just spend time with your families, make sure you're in shape, and we'll see you when the season starts. We'll see you in training camp. And so that's been the biggest difference. Usually at this time I would be, if the season hadn't started yet, if our off season workouts hadn't started, I would be waking up, doing breakfast, going somewhere to train for a few hours, getting food, being dad. Kids would also probably still be in school or preschool, but now all that's done, and so we become parents, teachers, uh, trainers, and the whole deal.
I think another thing people could perhaps relate to in some ways, you're a free agent right now, and you're trying to go through, perhaps job interview process virtually, which is something that people might be going through in their own lives if they're had a change in jobs or change in their employment situation. I guess, what's that like? Like, how have you? Is a lot of that stuff happening right now, or does that stuff typically not happen until closer to the start of the season? And how are you just handling all of that?
Yeah, it's been different, and I've had a lot of conversations with people about how this situation has affected free agency. So right now, I'm not on a team. Right now, I'm a free agent, and I have a couple, some teams that are interested. But the biggest thing I've heard is, hey, just wait, right? You just got to wait. And some of that may be because the NFL draft that's coming up starting tomorrow. It might be some of that, but it also may be because of this COVID situation. There are a lot of players who can't get physicals right now because of certain restrictions. And so it's like, well, hey, we need you to wait. Let's see if this thing cools down and see what happens. And it also may just be, hey, Sam, like, stay in shape. We may need you in a week, in a month, in a couple months, but it's almost one of those things where it's like you have to really exercise faith. You have to like work your faith muscle because all this training I'm training hoping that I'm going to get signed, right? Because I'm not currently training because I'm on a team and I'm getting ready for this. I'm still getting ready for this season, but I don't know where it's going to be. But the cool thing about that is there's a verse in the Bible that says, all hard work leads to profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. And I think about that often where it's like, okay, somehow, some way, this hard work is going to profit, is going to lead to and bring profit. And I go back to my first year in the NFL in 2011, where I mean, I was grinding that first year, even the offseason, like the grind, it was like, why would I put myself through this kind of struggle and pain and sacrifice? And fast forward 9 years later, and I'm still here, right? That hard work led to profit. And so I think about people who are here, whether they're listening or at home or trying to figure out what their life's going to look like in the future. I think the biggest thing would be to continue to work hard. I don't mean that in a sense of like always staying busy, right? Hard work looks like being a parent. Like what you just saw, that's not easy. It's hard, right? You know what I mean? Like it's not easy. Um, Still trying to get stuff done and still be a dad or a mom or whatever. And so I would just encourage people to find ways where you can continue to work. And even if it's working at home or working from home or working on stuff, working on being a teacher to your kids or even you learning yourself, yeah, I think it'll profit.
That's such a great message, Sam, and such a powerful message. I think, something that a lot of folks in our community, the UCAN community, can relate to in a lot of ways. But I think even from the standpoint of, we have a lot of endurance athlete runners and triathletes who might be building towards a race, and now that's taken away from them. And you might face that situation of like, what am I training for? Why should I still training? But I think a lot of what you said, right? There's going to come a time where we're on the other side of this. And at that point, whatever it is that you're working on, you're going to be thankful that you took this opportunity to put hard work into that. So I think that that's so relatable for so
Yeah, and
many
I would,
things.
yes, I would even like kind of to top it all off or put a cherry on top. I would just say, don't waste the wait. Like this is a time of waiting and uncertainty. And my biggest thing is like, don't waste it. I have this conversation with myself a lot. Like, am I doing enough? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I see all these people, they're posting all these videos, they're doing all this stuff. And sometimes I feel like I'm not doing enough. But I'm reminded of my kids and how being present for them is really important. I'm reminded of some other projects I'm working on that for me are passion projects, but other people may not see it, but the hard work is being put in. It's not just talking about it. And so I would just advise anybody who's going through some doubt or maybe even despair is like, hey, don't waste the wait. Find ways to get better. I have a buddy who coaches basketball at a school in Indiana, and he said, hey, what are you learning during this time? What are you learning? What have you learned? I told him, I said, I'm learning how to sacrifice, how to keep my word for my wife and how to sacrifice for her and even the kids, how it's not always about me. And he responded, he said, hey, make sure that when we come out of this, you keep those same lessons that you learned when we were in this. And so I think that's the biggest thing. It's like, what are you learning? Are you going to waste the weight and just sit around and mope and say, man, well, I got nothing. I have no opportunity. I can't find weights. There's nowhere to run. Or are you going to use your kids as weights? Are you going to, you know what I mean? Like jog in place. I don't care. Do jumping jacks, push-ups, like figure it out.
Yeah, it's, I mean, really, really well said. I think that's powerful. And, see people who are watching this giving thumbs ups. Like I think that what you said connects with folks for sure. Um, I was just curious on the workout side. You talked about using your kids as weights, and you got a great video on Instagram where people can see that. Like obviously, I'm sure you're used to working out in premium facilities with the best training equipment to isolate, whatever muscle you need to isolate, or like everything top end. So, what are some other ways that you've gotten creative with workouts that people just might find interesting?
Yeah, I mean, it's been the biggest adaptation because I think early on, you talk about like when did I know? Well, I always knew I had this passion for not really working out, but like when I put my mind to something, I was like, I'm all in, you know? And so before the NFL, before big time college football, uh, before the big facilities, it was just me. It was just me. I remember growing up, I was a bigger kid growing up. And so I remember I could never, they had these tests that you would do in PE, and one of them was to run a mile. And number one, I had friends who would run miles in 6 and 7 minutes. I know there's probably a lot of people who are on here right now. You canners who can run miles easy. I couldn't. First of all, I couldn't finish a mile. Number one, number two, I would get the side stitches. Like the little thing
Oh
on your side.
yeah.
And then number two, I couldn't. If I ever did, it wouldn't be. It would be above 10 minutes, right? It'd be like a 12 or 13 minute. I'd have walked the last time. And so finally, like one summer in high school, I just kind of committed to no facility, nothing, just a track, just trying to run and trying to build up my endurance to work on running a 10-minute mile. And by the grace of God, I was able to do it. And then finally, after running 4 laps, I ran 5 laps, 6 laps, 7 laps, all the way till I ran 2 miles. And I ran 2.5 miles, 10 laps. And so saying that to say that there was a time before the facilities where you just like to work. And so, but fast forward, the facilities came, and then I kind of got to this place where I was like, no, I only work out at the best of the best. Being a free agent last year, I wasn't on a team for part of the year, and I got a membership at like an LA Fitness or something, and I was like, what am I doing here? This is not me. And finally, I was actually in Buffalo for a little bit, and I started working out with the University of Buffalo football team, which had not an amazing facility, but a very, very solid facility. Well, like I said, you have to be able to adapt and adjust. Now there are no facilities. Everywhere is closed. Here, there's this gravel field. Let me see if I can get a good visual of it. It's not grass, it's gravel. And so I've been doing a lot of my running here on this gravel field. And
Oh man,
so
look at that.
it's like, one of my, the trainer was like, hey man, you sure you don't have like some grass or a field? It's like, dude, this is what I got. Like, I don't have anything else. And so it's like right next door to where I'm staying. And this gravel field, I have a medicine ball where I'll toss it against, like, that's the highway up there, right? Like, I'll
Man,
toss it against the deal of the highway. There's a,
this is like Roman, like Colosseum warrior style workouts.
yeah,
Like this is
yeah.
this
If I
is the
could,
real deal.
I'm gonna just kind of show you guys since we're on here. Um, there's like a lot of times people love to do workouts with either pushing, at least with football, right? Pushing sleds and stuff like that.
Yep.
Well, I don't have the sled, but there's this rope, if I could find it, that I'll use. That's almost like has this resistance like a sled, right? So I got the like TRX bands that
Right.
I use for a ton of stuff. Um, excuse me, not the TRX, the resistance bands. Got the TRX bands. I got some cones, right? Like figuring out ways to do whatever I can. Last example I'll use, just as far as creativity, and hopefully y'all can see this. Um, so there's one drill I work on that works on like quickness and change of direction, and usually it's called a tennis ball pickup drill. And so you'll get a tennis ball, you'll get six of them, you'll toss them around, and you'll go and you'll try and pick them up and put them into a box. Well, stores are closed, you can't really find tennis balls.
Right.
So there's this orange tree, if y'all can see it. Uh, there's
Yes.
an orange tree right there, if y'all can see it. And so what I did is, I'll show y'all here. I just picked some oranges, and these are like bad now, but I use these oranges as the tennis balls, right? And then I would instead, I had this box from Costco. I didn't have a tub, but I had this box from Costco, and I would toss them into this box. And so I just think about ways of being creative, like finding ways to get the work done, whatever it takes. Because the thing about life is like you're always going to have to adapt and to adjust. And so um, those are the things that I've been doing to, for lack of better terms, stay ahead. I got a like once again, top notch facilities is what I'm used to, but I don't have that right now. So I actually had to go and buy some weights. I bought I've bought, what was that show, Beg, Borrow, and Steal.
Yeah.
So I've done all. I bought this bench for, like, I bought this bench because I needed it. I borrowed these these whatever it's called, power blocks, right? I borrowed these. Um, I'm not gonna say I stole the weights, but I found a way to get some weights. You know what I mean? And so it's just about being creative during this time, because now I can look back and say, man, I did everything possible to make sure I was ready. So for any endurance athlete, or even, I know, there's some Olympians who, like, the Olympics are being postponed, right? Like, continue to train. Don't be discouraged, because you never know how much is going to benefit you moving forward. I think for me, hopefully this will be a lifestyle change. Hopefully this will be something that whenever I'm done playing, I'll still be um, keeping up the same lifestyle.
Sam, that was well worth. Let me tell you what, that was well worth the tour, because that's amazing creativity. Like, just to see what you're able to kind of put together with not a lot and just a little bit of ingenuity, and, like, most importantly, just the motivation and the will to find a way to do it. I mean, I think that's shows a lot of people that, like, you can still use this time to figure out how to be creative if it's something you really want, which, clearly, with all the steps that you're going through, this is something that you really want, and that was really cool to see. I love the oranges, that's
Yeah, I had to
that's
do
that's
something.
awesome. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
well, but that's the thing. Like, that's what I was praying for. Because for me, it's like, and I think for a lot of our endurance athletes or anybody who has a passion, it's like there's this fire. You know what I mean? There's this fire that you have. And for me, I've been struggling with the question, like, man, God, what am I doing the things I'm supposed to be doing? We talked about it earlier, because for me, it's always about following that fire. So I've actually recently prayed, like, God, give me that fire back. And whatever it is, if it's working out, if it's writing, if it's doing Instagram lives and interacting with people, like, God, give me that fire. And, like, he's answered that prayer. So, like, I have this newfound, or not newfound, and that's not newfound, but somewhere down the line of pro athletes and business and contracts, I almost lost it. But it seems like I found again that fire. And that's why you probably see the excitement in my face when I look at the orange tree. I'll show y'all again. Like, look at this orange tree. And I'm like, dude, I can use these as tennis balls. And I look at these, these TRX bands. I don't have, or I call them TRX bands, whatever these bands are called, the skills bands. I don't have equipment, so I'll just use the bands. I'll use 2 bands or 3 bands to get the kind of resistance I need, or I'll do push-ups with the kids. And so those are other ways I've been creative.
Sam, this has been awesome. We just got a few minutes more with you, and I had so interested talking to you about your training that I just want to spend a couple minutes on the nutrition side of things, and maybe just share for you what's been challenging for you nutrition wise at this time. I mean, I'm sure throughout the season, perhaps I don't know, but I'm guessing, or a lot of people would assume, you guys probably have a lot of support when you're in the NFL ecosystem in terms of nutrition. But what's been challenging for you at this time, and maybe on the other side of the coin, like, what's working for you? It seems like things are happening positively for you. You're making them happen positively. So what's working nutritionally?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing has been, and one of my buddies joked about this I do a podcast called the Home Team Podcast, and one of my friends on the podcast, he said, "Hey man, like, I think I've gained the COVID-15." You know
Right.
what I mean? People talk about, like, the
Right.
freshman 15 in college, and so I got the COVID-15, being at home all day, seeing, like, when's my next meal coming from? For some people, when's my next drink coming from? I guess it's like the COVID-15, and for me, I think I got a little bit of like a head start, just because last year, about 8 months ago, I was, not to say I was quarantined, but I was in this period of uncertainty and not knowing with football and being at home essentially for a couple months, not knowing what was going to happen. And so early on in that process, I gained I'll call it COVID-15. But now I've really understood, like, the importance of nutrition. I always knew it, but now when workouts may not be as easy to come by, when gyms are closed, when the motivation might not always be there, I'm learning the importance of eating the right things and and of nutrition. And so for me, like, and even for the kids too, right? Because a lot of times it's like, hey, where's our next snack coming from? And so we're doing a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetables, all that. But, like, the coolest thing for me um, has been the relationship with UCAN, right? Because it's like we got, like, I'm grinding, I'm training, and I need energy, and so I'll eat. But some of the, obviously you can't have some new products out that I've loved, and I've already used the peanut butter energy bar, which is awesome, and I'm gonna try the almond butter one in a little bit. but they've given me this sustained energy, which has been awesome, right? I'm like, man, I feel more energized working out, and even post workout too, right? Being with the kids, trying to make sure I'm, you know, there for them, even some other like passion projects that I'm doing as well. That's been the coolest thing is saying, hey, even if I don't get a chance to work out today, right? For example, this week is we call it a deload week, so it's like the fourth or so week of my training. So I'm training a little bit lighter, even if I'm not running as much or training as hard. I got to make sure I'm still on top of my diet because I know that diet is 80% of the way there. If whether you're trying to lose weight or gain weight or get stronger or get faster or whatever, it's 80 to 85% diet, and that's like science tells you that, right? You can work out as much as you want and run as many miles as you want. If you're eating burgers all day, it's probably not going to help you, right? But if you eat clean and then let's say you don't even work out that much, you're going to see a bigger and a more substantial change than um, than if you didn't have proper nutrition. And so for me, to answer your question, it's just been um, trying to eat clean and then being like, I mean, having you can like send product has been awesome. Me going online and seeing, hey, what's out there, what's available has been um, amazing for me.
Awesome. So yeah, those are good strategies in terms of how you approach the overall nutrition picture. And we had one question come in about like, I think people are always curious what athletes eat. So what's a typical breakfast look like for you, or even if you take us through the family, what's a typical
Yeah,
breakfast in your household?
definitely. Well, my wife is an amazing chef. I'll call it chef. Like she loves to cook, and she just is great at it. So much so that my 5-year-old son is like, I want to be a cook when I grow up. Mommy makes the best food. And so for us, a lot of we'll do a lot of eggs. So like scrambled eggs. My wife will make these amazing scrambled eggs with vegetable, like with like onions and tomatoes and like so we'll do that oftentimes. But one thing I've realized is that eggs don't always sit well with my stomach. Um, and so one thing I love to do for breakfast is yogurt. Yogurt and blueberries are kind of like my go-to because for me it's light enough where it's not going to affect me, but it gives me enough energy to get my workout in. So what I will often do is I'll do like yogurt with blueberries or some kind of fruit, and if I have a chance to get some granola, or if I don't have granola, cereal, something in there, right? Something light for breakfast. Get my workout in. Even if my wife and kids have eggs, I'll come back at lunch and I'll do those eggs for lunch, right? Eggs and bread sometimes to get some carbs. And for me, that's been beneficial because you get the protein, you get the carbs, and it's helpful. Um, and then so that's kind of the nutrition side. Then also obviously supplements, right? Like I'm doing the UCAN energy and protein like post workout. I'll do protein before I go to sleep, right? But for me, it's light breakfast in the morning because I don't want something heavy on my stomach before I go and run or lift.
And for you, training is something that usually happens to start the day. You like to get up, get
Yes,
some food in you, and then train.
I have to, yeah, because I know like the guy we have the guy who was training me in Chicago. His name is Tommy Christian, and we're doing virtual training now. But um, he talked about the way the body works is I think he said like 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. are usually the times where your body's quote unquote most alert. But also understand that everybody's different, right? Everybody's different. So for me, I've just noticed that if I can get my work in the mornings, it really helps out my day as a whole. And so, it may not be first thing I wake up. Like I said, we'll get up. We usually like we'll always pray and sing and just getting the word, getting the word of God as a family. We'll do breakfast, but right around that time is when I usually go and get my lift in. And today, as I mentioned, was different. Today, I woke up and like went straight to start running because I was up. I had the energy. It was a bigger run day today, and so that was my deal today. Then I came back and ate after I came back. Um, yeah, because for me, the way I see food, at least when I'm at my best, not always, but when I'm at my best, I see food. So I see food as fuel, and so I think what's going to fuel me for this workout, right? And then I finish workout and I try to refuel, right? And that's kind of the way I try to see food.
Yeah, I mean that mentality, makes a lot of sense. And even as you talk about how UCAN fits into your picture, that's a lot of the way that we think about UCAN is like with that, steady, sustained, long-lasting energy. What is the best time that can strategically fit into the day with what you're trying to accomplish? And for you, it sounds like you found that out. Whether it's some of the bars before you work out, whether it's the energy plus protein post workout, it seems like you found ways with that food as fuel mentality to fit UCAN into your day, strategically to help you achieve what you want to. And I think that's something that, I encourage everybody to kind of do individually is like figure out what your goal is from a training standpoint or even from an everyday energy standpoint, and then figure out how to slot you can in.
Yeah,
Any
and
other way,
and
Sam? That you? Oh yeah, go ahead.
I just want to add this in, and I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, because UCAN is a family product, so my kids will be like stealing my bars, and so I'm like, guys, like we can't do this, you know what I mean? And so, but at the same time, like obviously, like those the like the chocolate bars, even the peanut butter ones, like they taste good, and so my kids want to eat them, and so I think obviously it's positive because they're getting long lasting energy, but for me, I'm like, guys, these are my bars, like I do not want to share, you know, so. Um, so yeah, but the biggest thing I would say is try to see food as fuel, not just like an escape.
Right. Well, Sam, those are wise words. You've given us a lot of wisdom, a lot of great insight today. Appreciate you hanging out with us for here close to 40 minutes now. Thanks to everybody for joining. Thanks for the questions and the feedback. Sam, we're excited to do more of this with you as the time goes along. So this was just hopefully an intro, a little bit of chance for folks in our community to get to know you. This is going to be available on Instagram. We're going to get this up on our IGTV as well, so you can watch this anytime, because I know for you guys that might just be coming in now, you need to scroll back a little bit and watch Sam show us his creative home workout, because that was pretty cool. But Sam, thanks so much. Any final words? Well, you know what? I asked you this at the beginning, but maybe just something to say on this to close us out. Like, we don't really know what's ahead of us. What are strategies that you're using to stay positive and be able to keep doing what you just laid out to us that you're doing right now?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing has just been like a piece from a relationship with Jesus, right? So I'm like, okay, God, I get stressed out often. So it's like, man, like with the kids or with like the future or with work, not knowing, like I don't know what to do. And so oftentimes I'll just kind of stop and just pray. Yeah, I mean, people say that meditate or whatever. I'll just like pray and like, all right, God, I need help. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes it's like pausing and taking a temperature of like what's going on in your heart or in your mind before you just react. Um, like we're not meant to, nobody knows what tomorrow holds. And I don't think we're supposed to know what tomorrow holds. Of course, it'd be convenient so we can plan out our whole schedule. But tomorrow's not promised. Nobody knew before this COVID stuff happened that it was going to affect us like this. Like some people may have known it might affect us, but not like this. And nobody knows when we're going to come out of it. And so for me, it's just been trying to enjoy every day and not get overwhelmed by the future, right? Like taking things one day at a time, one breath at a time, one moment at a time, one decision at a time, and not getting overwhelmed by what could happen tomorrow.
That philosophy, I guess too, is so ingrained in you as a football player too, right? To live in the moment, to live in the play, that perhaps that helps you approach life with that same philosophy, or maybe vice versa. Having that philosophy in life helps you stick to that in football. But Sam, thanks so much. I appreciate you joining us today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Sam Acho, everybody. It was amazing to get the insight from you, Sam. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and thanks everybody for tuning in, listening in. I'm hoping to do this a lot more often. So yeah, I love it. This is awesome.
Sam, I could have gone for 3 hours. I'm just letting you go
Yes,
because I know you got other stuff to do. But let's do this again.
without a doubt.